No,
you know what? One day I should have everybody just.
Can't be too careful, though, those weirdos out there.
There's the Warner Brothers of the side.
Oh, gotta ask yourself, do I feel lucky?
Marvel Legends Gauntlet, the Nano Gauntlet.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
That is... All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Friday night of Collectors Assemble Live, another X-Men edition that we got going on. As you can see, I gotta rock the Magneto shirt, Savage Land shirt, right, with Rogue. But I'm really excited, guys, because obviously you guys have been, watching X-Men97. We've been having a lot of the cast on, both the older cast and the newer cast. And today I'm very, very much excited because we're going to have one of my favorite characters for this season that has just been phenomenal. And one could argue that he's probably one of like the main character, right? His role has been so great and he's been just killing the parts and just an amazing, talented person. I can't wait to have and introduce you guys to Matthew Waterson, who's going to be on momentarily. But as you guys know the rules, you guys feel free to ask questions in the chats. If you're watching the replay, thank you as well. And just a heads up, guys, if you ask a question and I don't show it, it's probably because I can't ask it. Obviously, we can't lead to anything that happens in the future with X-Men, so that way we don't, jeopardize his job or, be on the naughty list for Disney and Marvel. And of course, we don't like spoilers here. But without further ado, my friends, let's start with our guest panel. First, we got the youngling of the group, ladies and gentlemen. We got Aaron in the building. What's up, Aaron?
What's going on? I'm excited for today. We got a very special guest, stacked panel. Our special guest has first name starts with M, and the character he plays starts with M.
Hey, let's go. And you got something, right? Didn't you get something recently? Oh wait, hold on. Let me show that off. Wow, look at that. Magnus.
Kind of blurry, but
it's all right. We see it. Looks good though. Looks good.
Appreciate you.
All right. He's building his own little X-Men97 fantasy team over there. All right. We have our artist, Sean Carlson, in the building. What's up, Sean?
How's it going, guys? Good to be here. Finally able. We have a show now where the full season is over. We can talk about the whole thing in its entirety. Really looking forward to this.
I know, we couldn't do that with the previous X-Men characters that came on, even though they've been phenomenal shows, right? But the other thing is we've had them on with another, we've had more than one. Today we just get to focus on Magneto, which is pretty cool, right? So I'm excited about that. Like I mentioned before, he's badass, man. He's killing the role, man. He's doing a phenomenal job.
Oh,
man.
yeah, totally.
For real.
Yeah.
So can't wait to talk to him in a little bit. We got brother cousin visiting us back on the show. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up? How you doing, brother? How's everybody doing? I am so excited for this show right here. Magneto's my favorite character in X-Men lore, so I'm yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing. Especially coming off that great season. I can't wait. This is amazing.
I know.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. This is
of course,
real. Oh my God, this is amazing.
Of course, bro. Anything, bro. Glad you're here. We also have the birthday girl in the building with Andrew. So we got Ashley and Andrew. Ashley, first off, happy birthday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
What did Andrew get you? Hold on, let me see his face, cause I want to make sure he don't lie. What'd you get her?
Trip to Las Vegas. Does that count?
Oh, for real?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. All right.
Oh, damn. Okay, killer. All right. Good for you. That's awesome. How you guys doing today? Good.
Doing
We're
good.
good.
All right. Got the X-Men VHS tape there. Now, have you met Matthew? Did Matthew sign that yet?
Nope.
Oh,
He's coming to Ocala Comic-Con in a couple of months, so definitely going to be adding him to this.
let's go. Perfect. I actually spied on him. We'll talk about later. He probably was like, "What the hell?" Yeah. So I had obviously, a lot. The other characters have been on the show. And we announced like what Comic Cons they're gonna be at, and a bunch of people say, "Hey, I'm gonna go see the X-Men cast." I was like, "Yo, go visit this person, this person, this person." Calvin ended up going over there. I was at the airport flying out of Arizona, and I was like, put me on video so I could see everybody in action. And he just went up to them. He's like, "Here," and I'm over here like. He probably thought I was crazy, but I can't wait to hear what his reaction is. We got Josh McCoy Culture in the building. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man? Happy to be here as always. This is easily the one I've been most excited for. Magneto's absolutely killed it this season, and I'm just excited to sit and chat with Matthew, man. It's gonna be a good show.
I know. I cannot wait, man. Cannot wait. We have Second Brother in the building. What's up, Second Brother?
What's going on? Fellas?
Super X-Men fan.
The Omega level.
Man, let me tell you.
The Omega level collector.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I had to take it and own it.
Oh, it's freaking awesome.
Man, I really appreciate, for this invite, because it's like, at the age I am now, it's like, I'm so happy to see the fantasies I had as a child come full circle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And actually be a part of it. The things that I wish for, read in the comic books, like, man, I wish they did this in animation, and then you get to see it come. I wish they did this. You get to see it come, and it's like I'm totally speechless, and I'm a part of this stream. I get to interact with one of the legendary villains that if you put him and Vader in a smash up, you might as well say instant meltdown.
Hell yeah.
You put them together, you just see me running around the street naked. Like,
it's funny. It's funny because I see him laughing in the backstage, so he liked that comment. Awesome, dude.
It's like a dream come true, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
Listen, I'm happy everybody's here to enjoy, man, and celebrate, right? So, and then I got my two brothers from Constructive Outrage. First off, Crippler's in the building. Crippler, what's up, dude?
Magneto was right.
Yo, let's go.
Magneto was right.
Making his debut, bro. You said the other day this was your debut on the show. I did not know that. I thought you'd been on before.
Debut. Crip hanging out with Miguel on ToyQuest101. Nice to meet all you guys. I'm here to do. We all know Magneto was the truth. We all know he was right. And now we get to the person who gave birth to the words he was saying. Yeah. How amazing is that?
I know. Listen, I hope it's not your last time here too, bro. You're always welcome. But I'm excited to have you on, man. And then last but not least, Rashid is in the building. What's up, Rashid?
What's going on, bro?
What's up? What's up? Listen, you're not in your X-Men man cave. What happened?
I'm sorry, man.
Nah, you don't gotta do that. I'm kidding.
But I can tell you this: if I was a mutant, I'd definitely be rolling with Magneto.
Hey, also you'll jump over like Sunspot and Rogue. Okay,
I definitely would be rolling with Magneto.
All right. That's not a bad choice, man. Not a bad choice. Anyway, so without further ado, because he's waiting in the back, man, let me introduce you guys to Magneto himself, ladies and gentlemen. Matthew Waterson. What's up, dude? Thank you for being on. Thank you for being on. I don't know where I'm going to put you on the screen, but we got a lot of people on. But listen, I'm really happy you're here, man. First and foremost, let me lower this music real quick. This is why I hate the music. But congratulations on, first off, the whole season, the character. Like, you absolutely nailed it, bro. Like, if I swear, some Academy Award performance on your behalf, on the writers. I mean, some of those things were just like goosebumps, man, which we'll talk about later. But you really took that character, embraced it, and absolutely just murdered that role, man. Like your voice is going down in history for, like, it's amazing. You did a good job. Congratulations, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. It's look, anytime you get something like this, like any kind of character, whether it's the first time you're doing it, or especially if you're taking it over from somebody, it's terrifying because it's not like, there was a mediocre version before. Like, pretty much everybody who's done this character has been epic, and David, who had done it in the previous series, was amazing. And then most of the rest of the people are aware of one of the live action ones. So then it's Ian McKellen or Michael Fassbender. So pick your poison. Like any of those, it's like, okay, I better make sure I'm at least paying attention when I get in there.
Listen, I could honestly say that is a list of like like a Mount Rushmore of amazing, performances. But I honestly want to say that you definitely, on behalf of everybody, I'm that confident that you've definitely lived up to the role and did a phenomenal job. And just the combination of your work and the writers and just how everything played out was just phenomenal. And like Second Brother was saying, man, like it's X-Men was the only thing that always left me hanging. The to be continued thing. I always like, and it's funny, I said it in another show. I remember waking up Saturday mornings to watch X-Men, and now I'm waking up way earlier on a Wednesday to catch it as an adult. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm so into it. And it's a very well done show, and I can't think of something that I just was dying to watch right away. Like the minute my eyes are open, boom, turn it on type thing. So definitely I think you've made your mark in the fans' hearts and X-Men history. So congratulations there. So that'll lead me to my first question. So prior to X-Men97, you in your career, you've landed some historic, like some of the best fandoms in video games, like Halo, Star Wars, The Last of Us, Final Fantasy, God of War. I mean, the list goes on. A bunch of different characters that you've played, but they've been like the top level games. Like we're not talking like just mediocre games. We're talking about like the award winning top 5 games and in that fandom. And now you jump over to one of the best characters in one of the best animated series of all time, Magneto. So my question to you is, how's the experience been for you, and how much different is it from voicing some characters in video games at that high caliber?
It's the funny thing about it, and I had heard people talk about this before when I was younger, and you hear it and it makes sense to you intellectually, but it doesn't really land, is you're just trying to get work and you're just trying to book jobs. Yeah. And so you get jobs here and there. And one of the really, really cool things about interactive and video games is that pretty much everybody, whether they're doing one of the principals in a game or not, are willing and are happy to come in and do other characters and incidentals and things like that. So it's this thing of once you kind of start working and once people realize like, oh, you can do this and you can, we can bring you in to knock out call outs. We can bring you in to knock out these little characters in this giant, open world game. You'll start getting little bits in games that you aren't even leads in or principals in. So all of a sudden you'll go, okay, I've been doing this for a few years, and you look back and you go, oh, I've been able to be a part of some really, really cool games. And also, wait, I've got to be in some Marvel stuff, I've got to be in some DC stuff, I've got to be in some Star Wars stuff, I've got to be in Conan and there are these massive franchises that if you're just in live action, it's real hard to get more than like 2. Like if you get in like 2 or 3 of those things, you're The Rock or Jason Momoa. Like that doesn't happen to most people. Right. It's like Samuel L. Jackson. Like you get into a couple of them, and your box office gross immediately you skyrocket ahead of Tom Cruise and Indiana Jones and everyone else. But in interactive, you can get to do a little bit in like a whole bunch of these games. And so if you're lucky, you get to do principal stuff in games here and there, and then you also just get to be a part in all these different games. So you can suddenly go like, oh yeah, I got to be in. I'd played the first Last of Us game, and they had already finished the second Last of Us, or were well into it by the time I sort of got onto the scene. But I was able to get into to be able to do stuff in The Last of Us, which is amazing because it's one of the only game I think, and it's one of the only projects that I had the sort of the terror that you have when you're like 5 and the covers get pulled over the bottom of your feet and your feet are sticking out. Yeah, I had that playing the game when I played the first version of it. So when I got a chance to do some stuff in the second one, it was like, this is amazing. Whatever I get to do in it, I'm there.
That's freaking awesome. So would you, and it's okay, we're not going to judge, but do you think that Magneto is the favorite role that you have done so far in the career of your career period, or has it been maybe something else that maybe you favorited more?
Magneto's definitely been the most like fleshed out and rich character. And the thing about him is that So two things go into pretty much making that true. There's a couple of other characters that have been just a blast to do and really fun for different reasons, and I'll cover those quickly in a minute. But my dog just fell over.
Is he okay?
He's just fine. He's fine. He's young. He just decided he was done standing and fell over. All right. The thing with Magneto I get to talk about this with people like at cons and things and at panels, which is awesome, is that of all the sort of villains in the world of superheroes or in sci-fi or in horror and any of these things that are these fantastical worlds that are allegorical to like stuff that happens in the real world, his motivations and his justifications are the exact same as the heroes. Like he wants the same thing. He is trying to protect the vulnerable, and he is just basing all of his actions on like, I have to protect the people who can't protect themselves because I can, because I have the ability to do that. And I've seen what happens if I don't. And that makes him so fascinating because he's not trying to get rich. He's not trying to take over the world and run the thing. He's not trying to, put the universe under his power. He just wants people to leave his people alone. And that makes him so fascinating because he doesn't have any of these nefarious, like anything he does, no matter how horrible it is, it comes from trying to do the right thing. And that makes it really, really interesting. So the more he gets things, I'm not going to say wrong, the more he does things that are violent or drastic, it's because you understand, like, no, something happened that pushed him that far. And so that makes him one of the most fascinating. There's a couple of other, then I've had a couple of other different ones. Like the first animated character I did, which was this character, a troll called Droll in Troll Hunters, which is a Guillermo del Toro show. That one I loved because that was only supposed to be like a couple of episodes, and the head of the studio just liked the character, and so I got to keep doing it. And so a show where, because of who was doing it, it was all like movie stars. If they had known that was going to be that character was going to last all the way through, they probably could have got and would have been like, well, we'll just go straight to X, Y, or Z and get this, get someone in that they would have been amazing at it. I kind of got lucky and slipped in, so that one's always going to have like I'm going to have a soft place in my heart for that character. Also, that series is a blast. So there's like different things in different characters, but Magneto is A, just what the character is so fascinating, and B, what helped is that he's, as Bo said, he's his favorite character, and so he wrote me some stuff this season.
That's good, dude. So it leads to my other question, because a lot of people don't know this. I actually didn't know this until recently, but originally you're from England, hence the accent, guys.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I'm half American, half English. I was actually born in the States, but my parents moved to the UK when I was about 10, and I went to boarding school there. So. Awesome. Which the funny thing was, that's actually similar to David, who played him in the original series. He was English, but spent his entire adulthood in Canada doing theater. So when I started listening to his voice, I went, oh, we have our voices timbre-wise is kind of similar, but B, our accents kind of similar, because we were both like English by way of North America kind of thing.
So it's funny because I didn't know that. And I also didn't know because we've obviously, I've the older cast of the X-Men I have a good relationship with, and they've been on the show previous to the X-Men97 and now with this whole run that we're doing here on the show. And obviously, they've been there, done that, right? The only difference for them is now social media and how and they know the fans are there versus before. Yeah. And then we got newer, actors like Guy and Isaac, Sunspot and Bishop, who, they grew up with this, they watched it, they know what it is. But because you were in boarding school in England, you really didn't get a chance to watch the X-Men like some of the other people. And so you really came in kind of brand new to it with maybe a little bit of knowledge of the X-Men. But talk to me how you had to like prepare for the role, because it was a lot different for you than it was for some of the other guys. But you had to prepare for and learn about the X-Men, and then on top of that, learn about Magneto. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, so you're not wrong. Like, I was in boarding school in England when this show was on. I was in boarding school in England from 1991 to 1997. So, I was in a situation where I wasn't able to watch the show when it was airing live, and so I didn't have an exposure to it at the time. So the majority of my exposure to the X-Men came initially through the films. And then also when I was in boarding school, people had comic books, but it was like nobody had like a run. It would be random ones here and there that you would get. So nothing was consistent. You couldn't say, oh, okay, I can sort of follow what's happening. You would get single episodes from different eras and different artists and different writers, and nothing ever was consistent or made sense. So my first sort of holistic look at it was the films. And so I had that. And then I started to get a little bit more grounding in it, after those had come out and because it was interesting. And then when I got the show, fortunately the original show was already available on Disney Plus, and so the showrunners sort of said to me, look, there's 5 seasons of it. Here are the episodes that Magneto is in, so you can start with these, but the whole thing is available on Disney Plus. So I did. I started with all the Magneto episodes just to give me like the framing of who he was, and then I went back and just watched sort of the whole thing through to give me, all of as much reference as I could get for what we were sort of stepping into. And it's difficult to tell because AJ, who was a good friend of mine before we started this project, who's Gambit.
Yeah, you worked in Star Wars together or something, right?
Yeah, and we did the last animated show we did, Crudes, we were on together, which was a kids show. And we did God of War together. Like I did the previs for Kratos and he did the previs for Atreus. So for 3.5 years, like I played his dad kind of thing. So, we spent a lot of time together. And AJ has been obsessed with Gambit since he was 10 years old, sort of thing. And so he knows everything about Gambit, and which of course added stakes for him, but also meant that he had all of this information to draw from. I didn't have that. And so it meant that I didn't necessarily have all of the reference to draw from, but it probably helped me not be in my head quite as much about it and freaking out and going, oh, okay, hold on. This is a thing that I've got to really take seriously and pay attention to and all that kind of stuff. So there's kind of good and bad for having been completely steeped in it, and also for having come to it with a bit of a fresh set of eyes.
Dude, I love it. We had AJ on, and he was phenomenal, man. All the stories he told, and he also played an amazing role. And I'm sure everybody here knows, but that Remember It episode actually got submitted for an award.
Yes.
And that whole entire episode for me was probably like the best episode of the season, just from every character's standpoint. Rogue's performance, Magneto, Gambit, Nightcrawler, just everybody just had a phenomenal performance. And I get goosebumps all the time when I speak about that episode. But really, really, just it's insane to me how talented everybody has been from the old cast to the new cast. Like when we had Isaac on. Isaac, I told Isaac he didn't expect this, but I reached, like, I almost had his second grade teacher on the show because I looked up I pulled up pictures of him working in Disneyland and stuff, and I was like, dude, I don't know if you know this, but you were destined for this role. Like you ran into Stan Lee, you were working at Disney, like the seed was planted a long time ago, bro. You're Bishop in real life, and he was like, oh crap. But like everybody is so freaking talented. So shout out to everybody who got the roles for you guys. So with that being said, how when you got the call to audition, because I feel like it's been different for everybody. Did you know what you were getting into? Did you have a hint, or were you just like, was it just a random thing? Okay.
A little bit. Like we all have a certain amount of it the same, in that we all got it originally as just a straight audition, which meant that we got an email from our agents that had a packet that had a whole bunch of characters, and it said, read through it, audition for the ones that you feel you can do. And it was all under and the other people have probably said this, it was all under other names and different pseudonyms and things like that, but each character had like 3 or 4 clips from the original show, and you look at it and you go. And the difficult thing is sometimes shows will say, we're going to pull all the material from an existing show and use that for reference, even though it's not bad, just because it's a tangible thing we can use. So there's a chance that's it. However, Jake, who is the supervising director, Jake had worked with my wife Rachel on Justice League Action, where my wife was Wonder Woman. Jake had texted and said, hey, this audition is going to drop for this thing. Pay attention to it. It's a serious one. So we were like, oh, okay. So sort of went through and did it, and so it meant that it meant that going in, I didn't know exactly what it like. I knew that it was actually, it became clear that it was X-Men, which is what it looked like, but it also became clear that this was a version of it that was going to be worth paying attention to, as opposed to you know, sometimes stuff comes out that you're like, a job is a job, and this will be a loss to do, but it's going to be it's going to be sort of middling. And other times you get things where you go, oh, this could be really, really good. So I need to really, you know, make sure that I'm not having an off night when I'm.
Gotcha.
And that was the case with this one. So like I'd gone through and gone through a handful of the characters and went, okay, I'll see the things that seem like I can fit for. And there are a couple where I kind of went, yeah, my voice is kind of there, but the one that worked the best was Eric. So, you know, did that one and sent that one off. And then what I then heard a couple of weeks later was they want to do a test episode with you to record to see how working with you is and how you do when you're being given direction and being asked to act more in it and not just mimic the voice. And then they'll have that to sort of mesh with other people to see what works the best. And so that was, you know, an hour or so, or hour and a half maybe, because we were doing a whole episode. And then in the middle of it, like I took a break to go, you know, back into the house to get a drink or something. And my wife was there and she said, Jake just texted me that it's going really well. And I said, don't tell me that. Tell me off. Tell me in the middle of it.
Oh, that's great. See, these are the stories I love. But and another thing, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but because for me, it's fascinating. So just to let you know, ToyQuest101 was the reason why AJ and Beast met for the first time, which I thought was bizarre. Yes, they never met each other until they got on screen, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" I was actually kind of mad because I was like, "How is this happening?" Right? But I was glad to, you know, make them meet, and I exchanged their numbers, you know, behind scenes, so that way they could, you know, continue to obviously, you know, talk to each other. And the same thing happened with Storm, and Isaac. They've never met each other, and I'm just like, what is happening right now?
And that was the thing. The old cast, the cast from the original show were all up in Canada.
Yeah,
they were all based out of Toronto, I think. So most of them still live in Canada. I think Chris Potter lives. I think he bounces back and forth between Canada and San Diego, but most of them still live in Canada. And whereas most of the new cast live down here, I think Jen Hill doesn't, but everybody else lives in California. So, and we recorded it, you know, separately. Like I'm the hermit who I've actually recorded every single bit from it in the studio right here at my house. I never went to any.
Wow, that's crazy. And that's what I was leading to, but that is insane to me.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
So I've done the whole thing here. And the last TV show I did as well, it turned out I found out at the end I was the only person from the show who never went into the studio once. So like, yeah, you just won't show up, basically.
But hey, so let me ask you this: have you met everybody in person yet, or is there somebody you haven't met yet?
I haven't met Cal yet.
What?
Yeah, I haven't met Cal. I haven't met
George.
Met some of the Chris Britton. I haven't met yet.
Okay.
I met George, Allison, Chris Potter in Calgary a few weeks ago. We did a convention up there. Lenore, obviously, because she's been down at the premiere. Lenore, and Augie, what? I'm gonna let my dog out because he's flipping out.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Do your thing. Do your thing.
The dog's like, "Oh, I got some words." Let me talk.
Spinning in the background and barking the way Collie's doing. I'm like, it's not.
It's okay.
So I think I met just about everybody. I haven't, but except for Cal and I haven't met Alison Court yet or Catherine Disher yet.
Okay.
I think that's about everybody. But like, I met a handful of people at the premiere and like the after party, and then those three, Chris, George, and Allison, I met in Calgary a few weeks ago. But yeah, it's you know, we're not in the same place for much of the time. So when we meet is probably going to be at appearances and things like that.
That's interesting. So I mentioned before that I kind of and if you see me on my phone, I'm actually telling the guy who's showing the pictures for me what to show now.
Oh, okay.
I'm not no disrespect whatsoever, but so I want him to pull up a picture now because I actually kind of not spied on you. Okay, we'll call it spy. I spied on everybody, right? Obviously I had this is Calvin. This is the guy you met at the con that went up to you with me on the phone. He's a trucker, and he's actually at the bar right now taking a break watching the show live. So I wanted to show that because I thought it was cool. He sent me that picture. Awesome. But yeah, he went to Ontario and he saw all you guys in action, which I thought, and I got to see you guys in action too, which is kind of cool. But how has the Comic-Cons been? And I know you've probably done a couple before because of your previous roles, but how has the feedback from the fans and stuff have been at these shows, especially with having multiple of you guys there together?
It's interesting. I hadn't really done any conventions before this, so I've done a couple now. I did the Calgary one and this one in Ontario a week ago, and that's it. And I've got some more lined up now, but these have been the first ones. And it's sort of, there's two things. There's one that, we've been working on this for so long. We started working on it. I think I auditioned and got the role at like the end of 2021, beginning of 2022. So we've been working on it for a long time and couldn't talk about it or say anything about it or anything like that for so long. So actually now not only being able to talk about it, but having the whole thing out and being able to talk to people about it, having seen it, is brilliant. It's a blast. The other thing about it that is something that has been really, really nice and really something that I was not expecting is that, especially with X-Men, I knew where it stood in terms of what it was allegorical for. It was people who were mistreated or badly treated because they were born different from the rest of humankind. And so that stands in for any sort of marginalized group. I'm a straight middle-class white guy. Like I haven't had anything stacked against me in the world. Like there's nothing like built into the world of like where we're going to keep people like that down because they're just the world. Like I've doesn't mean that life has been easy, but I haven't had stuff constructed in the edifice of our society against me, kind of thing. One of the things that's been really interesting is the people who come up and talk to you at a convention are usually coming up because there's something about the show, the characters, that has spoken to them or has made them feel seen, has made them feel like, oh, somebody understands some of the crap I go through and what it might be to try and live through that. And talking to the people and looking at the kind of people who've come up to talk specifically about X-Men and about especially our show in this season and Magneto and what's happened between episode 5 and all those kinds of things, it's been really eye-opening to see how many different people from how many different marginalized communities are like, no, this speaks to me in a way that none of the other stuff does, even though I'm a huge, comics nerd, sci-fi nerd, this or that. This particular property and these particular characters speak to me because they show a part of my life, even though it's this superhero world, they show a part of my life and the stuff that I struggle with that I don't feel gets represented in other things. Like most of us aren't Superman and most of us aren't Batman. We're not either born a god or born a billionaire. So they're like, these people, these characters speak to me and speak for me in a way most others don't. And I kind of knew that intellectually, but it's different when you start talking to people and you talk to tens, hundreds, probably eventually thousands of people who are telling you their experiences of how this type of character and this type of representation means something to them.
Bro, I am gonna clip that. When you said you're not born a god and you're not born a billionaire, holy shit! Bars,
thinking,
so
speak for yourself. I was born both.
I think most of us would, if we were given the option, if like one, the other, or both, would be like, yeah, sure, I'll take that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That was savage. I was like, damn, well said, really well said. But now that Sam said something, I got a question for Sam. Sam, is there that was so funny. Is there something you resonated with as far as this new season of X-Men97 or anything that maybe Magneto could have done that stuck out to you?
No, absolutely. I knew Matthew nailed it because Magneto's not this mustache twirling villain. He doesn't yell. He's very logical. He articulates very well, and he says what he means. And so when he was saying his lines, like so calm, but still had that gravitas from, the original. Like when you read the lines, you're like, oh yeah, no, like so. Like I want to ask Matthew though, when did you know that you found Magneto's voice, like that you nailed it, that you had it? Like,
ooh, that's a good one.
That's a great question. Honestly, I did. I was insecure about it up until the premiere where we saw the first 3 episodes.
Wow.
Like, and my wife Rachel will tell you, like, there were times when I would get clips, like, I would get clips, especially once we were way into it when we were doing ADR or something, or like somebody would show me a little bit of a clip from one of the episodes that was kind of assembled, and I would look at it, and what would go through my head is like, it was the first time I was hearing most of the other cast, because like I said, we all record individually, and I would be thinking, man, they all sound really good, and I sound kind of weird. I don't know if this is working. I don't know if this is working. Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know. I'd be watching it and thinking, I sound. There's something that sounds a little different about sort of what I'm doing. But it was interesting. You said like the maintaining the sort of the equanimity and the sort of the calmness, and that was something that we talked about, and that the writers and Meredith, the voice director, talked about with me a lot. Of he doesn't. It's very rare that he loses control. Like after everything he's been through, like there's not a lot that shakes him, and so he's not raising his voice much, and he's not losing control much. And there are instances where it starts to come out a little bit, and it's different towards the end when he's kind of like when it's him and Charles in the bar, and like that's a different situation and things like that. But most of the time, most of the situations where other people would maybe lose their temper or get worked up, he just doesn't. And they're like, this is one of the things that we need to maintain, because that's part of what gives that character his power, is that he can not just stay calm, but it's like none of it. It's like he expects everything. Like nothing happens that he doesn't know is coming. And to an extent, that's true. Like it's that cynical thing of he looks at everything going, it's going to go badly, because everything always ends up going badly. You can hope for the best, and he does hope for the best. And there's times in this season where he's thinking, wait, he comes into it going, maybe I was wrong, I'm going to give this a go. And there's times, leading into episode 5 where he's going, okay, well, maybe this will work. And yet every single time he's thinking, okay, maybe I was wrong, maybe there is hope. It just gets cut out from under him, and he goes, no, I was right. My take on it was right. So
for him, it's just a matter of time. Always, he knows he's right. He's waiting for everybody else to catch up. That's how Magneto is. He's like, dude, I'm telling you, I see the blueprint. You can try this multiple times. Eventually, when y'all catch up, I will be here and ready to show you the way. Right? I think that's what you captured well, even in his voice, because even as he gets mad, his words go up and down, but not his temperament. You know what I mean?
Right.
He really knows how to use his words well. Thank you for that.
I was insecure about that pretty much until we saw the first 3 episodes, and then I went, okay, when I can see it holistically, I'm like, oh, I get what they were doing. Like, and it's one of those. It's a situation where you have to trust production to go, like, they know what they're asking for, and they know what they're putting together. And so if they say this is what we're looking for, you go, great, I'm going to do that. And even if I'm going, I don't know if what I'm doing is right. Am I letting everybody else down? If when they say no, it's going to be okay, you're doing what we want, then you just have to trust that. But I mean, we're actors, we're all insecure.
You totally made that character yours, Matthew. You did to say an excellent job is just an understatement. I mean, you really nailed it. And I think what did it for me, I mean, just that line of don't make me let you down.
Oh my God.
When you said that, I was just like, he did it.
That was the most calm threat I've ever seen in my life.
That's still the coldest threat I've ever heard.
Oh, right.
Like,
and the thing is, he and for me too, it's like he's basically telling him, like, I'm choosing to do this. Just know that I don't have to, type thing, right? Like, because he's like, it's in your best benefit that you want me to stay calm, because I could easily change my mind. And just that performance, which we'll talk about later with that specific the UN speech, which was crazy for me. It was just like he said, it was just so freaking deep, man. And I'm at home like, oh shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, wow, what's going on?
I'm not even gonna lie. I shed a tear. I really did. I mean,
how could you not?
Beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And look, speaking of this, we have a viewer here. There were moments when it showed Magneto with tears, and the way Matthew's voice matched the tone of the moment was beautifully done. So I agree there. And then we got some other ones here. I noticed that Magneto only yells right before he whips the Wild Sentinel with the train in episode 5. Love the detail.
Yeah, it's what is it? I think it's "They shall be avenged" is the line that he yells just before he just starts whipping it with the train.
Dude, that was awesome visuals, man.
That whole
Like,
episode was amazing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And we'll talk about like some of the best moments for Magneto a little later on. It says, interesting to hear professional voice actors have self-doubt like the rest of us non-mutants. That's from Adam. We got Art.
That's actually very interesting because I come from a musical background, so I was touring for a while and I was a metal vocalist, so a lot of that aggressive screaming stuff. So it's the same thing when I'm hearing myself compared to the other bands we're touring with and the music and stuff. It's like what you were expressing is the same thing I was going through. Like I was always doubting myself, even though the one drummer would tell me how amazing it was. But it's really cool that it's kind of like on the same level there.
No, it's exactly the same, and I'm sure there are some people who just go, I am brilliant, what can I say? But almost everybody who I know who's actually any good is like, when somebody says to them like, well, you'll see somebody say, well, how did you do X, Y, and Z? They're like, I don't know. I was terrified. I just sort of went with it, and I decided it was either going to be great or it was going to be terrible, but at least it was my choice. And that usually is what it ends up boiling down to. The thing that I boil it down to tell people now is like, just be don't afraid to be weird. Don't be afraid to be weird. Like, don't be weird for being weird's sake, but like if you have an idea and it's weird, like do it. Because the worst that happens is people go, that was kind of weird. All right.
What was the weirdest thing you did that somebody said? Maybe.
Yeah, right.
It's funny. It was actually a guy who I used to know in New York who told me a story that solidified that for me. And he was auditioning for like a Broadway show, a big show, and he was not a big name, but he was a sort of working actor. And he read this thing, and he said, in my head, it just sounded like Jimmy Stewart. So he said, so I went in and just did a Jimmy Stewart impression for this entire audition, and finished. And he said the director, who is this very, very successful director, sort of looked at him and went, Jimmy Stewart? And he went, yeah. And he goes, okay, interesting. Like, that was it. And it happened that director, I knew his wife was a teacher of mine, and I asked him about that, and he went, yeah, that was fascinating. And he remembered the guy's name, and he remembered the guy's face, and he's like, he did it really well. It was totally wrong for what we were doing, but he did it really well. And like, I was like, oh, he's never going to forget him. He didn't think he was an idiot. He was just like, it was a choice that didn't work for this. But but he remembered the guy's name. He remembered what he did, and he was like, no, I'm going to find something for him because that was interesting. And so that guy I knew like did that thing, and he thought he'd walked away with everybody thinking he was a fool. And, at some point, probably 4 years later, that director probably just called him and said, hey, do you want this job? Because I know you can do this. So and it was that weird thing of going, I was like, and it was when he told me that story and I sort of pieced it together from talking to both sides, I went, oh, yeah, he did the thing that he did walk away going, why did I do that? That was dumb.
Hey, but he got something at the end. That's awesome.
Yeah. Great idea.
Amazing.
That's crazy.
That's a fairly common story. Oh, sorry, man. I was just going to say that's a fairly common story you hear from a lot of actors, because you got to think from the casting point of view, they're seeing people roll in all day long, doing the same line, doing the same way. And even if it's something that they don't necessarily can use at the time, after a dozen or so people, someone comes in and is totally the opposite direction. Again, even if it doesn't necessarily work, they're like, okay, I remember that guy. Yeah.
I used to, when I was younger, when I was in New York, I used to get pulled in as a reader on auditions for Broadway shows, and the crazy thing was on 3 or 4 separate shows, this guy came in and he got 2 of the jobs, and the other 2 jobs he came in and what he did was so different and so crazy that the directors and the casting people went, that guy is amazing. He is not right for this, but he is amazing. I don't know what he did. And it was Adam Driver, like before he'd started work.
Wow.
Like he came, and I remembered it clearly because I would talk to him like a couple of times, like in the elevator down or something like that, just being like, because like he would just come in and what he did was so different from what anyone else would do with the exact same lines. And it wasn't that he was trying to be weird. He just was like, this is what I am. I can't come in and pretend that I'm, Matt Bomer or Harrison Ford or something. Like, this is what I am. So
it was his take, his unique take. Yeah.
And it was great. And it was like everybody the second he walked in, everybody just went, all right, you're gonna see him, because he was so good and he was so memorable and he was unique.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's crazy too, man. Adam Driver.
Yeah.
Like,
What?
Quick question.
Wait, hold on, Sam. What'd you say, Ashton? I'm sorry.
so the
Oh,
chick
sorry.
who does Flo from Progressive,
Yes.
that character is 100% her character. She made it up, and now she's probably
Oh, wow.
like a millionaire at this point
Sure.
for all those commercials. But that character was not scripted. She
Oh,
came
really?
with the full character, the whole costume, and everything.
Ashton, how did you find that out? Did you just randomly like, I'm a Google Flow? Like, how did that come about?
She's her biggest fan.
Article about it.
Really? That's interesting as heck. All right. Sam told me he knows the guy from State Farm. I'm kidding. Sam, go ahead. What were you saying,
Let's
Sam?
battle our insurance plans next.
I know. Go ahead, Sam. What were you saying?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But to me, I think whether it's a comic book or a movie or a show, like my favorite X-Men moments are just conversations between like Xavier and Eric and Magneto, right? So like, how did you prepare for? Were you guys in the same room? Was it just like these are the lines? Like, because I know you guys had a very impactful conversation with Xavier at the end of this, and it's always their dialogue of them trying to suss through who's right, who's wrong, why they're right, why they're wrong. So did you pull from any other source material? Did you have direction on how these conversations go? Because I think you guys nailed that as well. Like,
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's interesting. Those were hard because we were doing those on our Ross and I were doing those on our own. I think I did a lot of it before he did, so I think he had some of my stuff to listen to when he was when he was recording. I think, I'm not sure, but we did almost all of that. I think in fact we did do all of that solo, and so and this was the case with everything in the show, but especially those kind of moments. So you mentioned like the UN speech in episode 2, or those like those changed so much from the initial record, like the text from the initial record to what ended up being in the show that you saw. And there was so much more originally in the conversation in the bar between Xavier and Magneto. And it sort of was, everything was in there, and then we would record it, and then they would put it together, and they would edit, and they would change. And some lines changed. Like there was one iteration of it where Eric was talking about, and it's tough now for me to remember what was in the show and what ended up being cut out or moved. But there was one where he was talking about a girlfriend that he'd had and going to dinner with her and seeing her around her family, and then realizing that they all kind of looked similar, and he didn't have anybody in the world who looked like him. And he actually had the line that in the but by the time we finished, that Charles says, which is that there's value, something like there's value in resemblance, or there's value in seeing yourself in other people.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what it ended up being, but and so that sort of stuff came and went, and they changed it. And one of the things that was great was that they would keep bringing us back in to change lines or re-record lines, or sometimes adjust just a couple of words here and there, because they would look at it and they would say, oh, this would be better if we adjusted this way, or cut that way, or cut that. And so we kind of recorded a ton, and then they were able to pull down to the bits that actually got to the core of what they were talking about as quickly as possible and as succinctly as possible, and made sure that the right people said the right things. Like having Eric have like that realization at that point of how important it was to feel like you belong somewhere. It wasn't right for him to say it there, even though that was a cool line. I would love to have said it, but it was actually more right for Charles to say it to him, because Charles was trying to get him back into.
And that happened a lot with the UN speech, right? I'm assuming, because
the UN speech, we redid a whole bunch of, well, not we redid, but we adjusted and tweaked a whole bunch of that, because it's a long speech, and so you want to try and get it as succinct as possible, because you don't want somebody just talking for 7 minutes in the middle of a show. But also, the more succinct you get it and the more to the point you get it, the more impactful it is. And so we probably tweaked that, I don't know, 5 or 6 times after the initial record. And sometimes it would be just changing a word, or changing a couple of words, or making a transition from one line to another smoother, because we were getting rid of the line in the middle. So they worked that so much to get it to where it ended up being. And the nice thing was, like I said, there's some lines that didn't end up making it through, and sometimes they were great lines, but there's nothing that I felt like it should have been in there, like it was missing for not having it in there. Like it's that thing of like, sometimes as good as something is, you're like it's not needed, so you have to get rid of it. And that was the case. There was nothing that they got rid of that I went, oh, that should have been in there. Like they honed that thing down to its sort of most lean version, which works, especially in a show like this, is always going to work better.
Well, listen, speaking of that UN speech, which for me, I think that was one of the best performances of the entire season, and one of the best shows, because it was just so freaking well done. We have some snips here. Usually I put the actual clips, but I feel like I was going to get copyrighted on this one because there was so much dramatic music behind it and so much elements to it that I was like, let me not take the risk. But this was so well done. I mean, everything he said, even before he got up to, space and started talking to them, but like, the fact that they paid homage to Uncanny X-Men 200, brought out the M suit that he has on, had him in shackles, and then same thing, references from the comics that they did so well. And I want to ask this question to Second Brother, because Second Brother loved the original X-Men. I know he's big with the X-Men comics as well. How was it for you to see them pay homage to, such a classic storyline from the Uncanny X-Men 200, and like when you saw that M on his gear, you were like, oh wow, they're really doing this. And again, they if you look at snips from the show and the comic, you see the same,
it's a mere reflection.
Right. So what did you think about this episode, Second Brother?
When the episode, as it went on, all I kept getting was flashes of me reading the actual book.
Nice.
Because that's where the animation was masterful at, is that you could turn around, you as a reader, when these books were out, while these scenes were going and the dialogue was going, you was like, okay, this is page so boom, and you just get those instant flashes there. But Matthew brought a good point of how X-Men actually connects with people in different marginalized communities. Like myself, I grew up in a rough area in Washington, D.C., and X-Men was my refuge. When the scene that he was protecting Leech, and Leech looked up at him, I looked at myself as a child, because my only strength to get through me going through ADHD and the things I was going through as a child was my mom and the strength of Magneto and reading those books.
Wow.
That's what got that, you had that kept that drive going. So I actually watched this in real time, and seeing the visuals, hearing the dialogue. You read the source material over and over again. Like I said earlier, it's like living a dream come true. And to have such, people that have such a big appreciation of it now, it's like you feel like you're a part of history. Of watching this, and almost could guess things word by word. And Matthew has knocked it completely, sir. You knocked it completely out of the park.
Yo, he did.
And it's funny that you say that you've done this at your home. You didn't have. I would expect you to be interacting with somebody and just going at it.
Right.
I'm just like, man. I'm like, okay, that's wow, that's amazing. I swore you was in a room with another person, just giving it to him.
Well, to add to that, correct me if I'm wrong, Matthew, I don't think you saw visuals for this, right? It was just a script, and then later on you kind of saw visuals for it. And
yeah,
when did you know you absolutely murdered this part? Was it when you were done, or was it when you saw the episode and saw the reaction from people and being like, oh wow, this came out really good?
It was when it came out, and I saw reactions from people. It was wow. Because you're right. When we did the first recording, when we did most of the tweaks, well, I don't know most. When we did a lot of the tweaks on it, there wasn't animation yet, and so it was all described. But as you can probably imagine, the scripts are dense, and there's so much going on and so much being described that. And they're written for the artists. They're written for the people who are going to make it, and that's not the way my brain works. So I would read them and I would understand what's going on, but I didn't have the ability to visualize what this was going to look like, anything like what it ended up being. And so that was one of the amazing things when we did start getting snippets in ADR. And then when I got to actually see the finished episodes finally at the premiere, was actually getting to see what these look like when realized. And it was wonderful because it worked so smoothly and so easily. And the things which I had trouble conceiving in my head, all of a sudden, all of those places where I was unclear went away because they did such a good job of realizing it. And so watching it there and watching it in, a theater with, I don't know, 800 people or something, and seeing the responses, that's when you start going, oh, okay, when you see the whole thing built together, okay, this seems like it's working. This seems like people are getting what we were trying to put across when we were doing it. And it, because of how it was written, like you read it on the page and you go, well, this is going to be a blast to do. It's going to be really fun to do. But it's like everything. It's really tough with that to know whether what you end up doing is really, really working. And I heard somebody who was being criticized for a film once about 10 years ago be like, man, nobody sets out to make a bad movie, but look how many bad movies there are. So clearly a lot of us.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like none of us are trying to make bad stuff. We're all trying to do something good. But look at how much crap is out there. Like clearly a lot of us spend a lot of our time going, we failed. So
as long as you learn from it.
Yeah, right? And that's the thing. Like you sort of do it, and you do what you think is going to work in the moment, and you rely, and especially when you're doing something like this, you're relying so much on your voice director. In our case, Meredith Lane, or our writers and our visual directors and things, because they're able to give you the context. And sometimes you'll be like, well, I think that this makes sense, and they go, no, you got to do this, and it may not make sense, but you just have to go. They have the whole thing in their head in a way that I don't. I'm only responsible for, well, can I make what they're asking make sense in my head so I can make it make sense coming out of my mouth? And if I can, I do that, and I put it all in their hands.
Without
brother. Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to piggyback off a second brother, like the fact that I think that's the difference between an actor and a voice actor, because like in the video game field too, like actors are great, they do their thing. But a voice actor really understands that you might not have a lot to work with, that you have to, like, you got the words, and sometimes that's it, right? And so, like, it's really dependent on, like you said, really good voice direction, really good people who could set the scene for you. And that's a skill that a lot of actors don't have to reach for, because they can play off, they could get that energy. So I'm always impressed with voice actors who have to really reach and try to just take that direction, because like these episodes weren't very long, they were short, so like it was masterful the way that they were able to make it succinct to make sure these scenes land, the UN speech, the conversation, because you don't got a lot of time. So like that takes a lot of editing, directing, voice talent, and voice direction, and your imagination, because you pulling that shit out of thin air, right?
Yeah,
so like, that's really awesome.
It's amazing.
Freaking awesome. Sean, you had something to say?
Yeah, just quick question, without obviously getting into spoilers or anything, but now that, when you're doing the first season, as you said, it's all in your head as best as you can imagine it. Now that we have a full season come out, and it's not, not just the incredible reaction from the fans of the show, but your character in particular, is there any pressure on you or sense of like, man, do I have to up the ante now going forward, or do you have to think like, I keep doing what I was originally doing because clearly that worked?
I think the secret is sticking with the insecurity.
Okay.
I mean, the reality is,
that's a good line.
That is, dude. He's full of like he's so full of bars.
That's a good one.
He's like that.
Yeah, right.
Like it's a funny thing when you're doing something like this. The nice thing is, I don't get first crack at it. Like it the second season, the third season, whatever. Moving forward, I don't get first crack at the character. The writers do. Like they get to decide what's happening, what he's doing, why he's doing it, what is they get to build the character and create the character. So there's the pressure, absolutely, but which is on all of us of like, oh, okay, now people are excited. And they're like, well, we know you can do a decent job of it. So now if you screw it up, we're even more disappointed in you because we know you could do better. But the reality is the nice thing is, and you'll hear people say it a lot, but it is useful because it's true, and it gives everybody a bit of a break, is because it's a collaborative process, nobody needs to shoulder all of the responsibility. So I don't have to make Magneto anything in particular or outshine what Magneto did last year or make him more this and more that. The writers start by doing their version of it, and then I get that, and then I get to play with whatever that is, and I can just play with whatever that is because that's what I got. And so it takes the responsibility off of me to try and do what a musician has to do when they have their second album come out. You know, the amount of times that musicians have the second album slump is because the first one does so well, and then they're trying to do something to live up to that as opposed to just doing what they do, and it sometimes can take a couple of times because it's all on them. Whereas in our situation, there's a bunch of us, and we all have to do our bit, and that kind of helps keep everybody focused on the thing that's going forward.
Got you. So that collaborative effort pretty much helps the creativity. It kind of takes a little of the weight off your shoulders, so to speak.
It does for me, and I think it should for anybody who really loves doing this. Part of the fun of doing it is the people you get to work with. Like, I love doing. One of the reasons why I came into acting in the arts in general is because the people who I met when I was doing it, I adored, and I went, oh, you're all cool. You're the kind of people I actually want to spend my time with if I have to make a choice. So why don't I do the job, or try and do the job that lets me spend the time with the people who I like? And so it makes it kind of easy to be like, no, and especially now it's even more a case of now having actually seen what everyone else is doing, and I look at what the original cast is doing and what the other new members of the cast are doing, and some of the characters that didn't get as much time this season, you're like, well, the way that shows work is hopefully everybody sort of gets balanced out. And I'm like, great, so what are we going to see from other characters that we haven't seen so far? What is this person going to do? What is that person going to do? Because now I know how bloody good they all are.
Yeah, and listen, everybody from, like, there's a video out there that when we started talking about X-Men97 just on a regular show prior to having everybody on, I was going berserk. I was like, whose idea was it to put Gambit on Wolverine's back? It was great. Like, whose idea was it? Like, I was calling out all these like crazy moments that you're just like, whoever that was, I don't know who it was. I don't know if the janitor came in and was like, hey, this would be a good idea. I don't care who it was. Whoever it was, give them like a handshake, a hug, and a raise, because some of these things that everybody, and like I said, it's like you said, it's a collaborative effort, and just everybody's been killing it. We just saw the making of the X-Men, which was phenomenal. Love that. Love to see the backstories too on that. But like, shout out to just everybody. I swear, if I could get like everybody behind the scenes to come onto a show and pick their brains too, I think that would be awesome. But everybody, if they're hearing this, or if they heard, I've said it a couple times, just kudos to everybody. Real quick, I got a question for Rashid. Rashid, I know you love badass moments when it comes to any fandom. What was your badass moment with Magneto in the X-Men97?
Well, first it was the one the one that hit me is when the Senator was trying to kill him, and he looked at Leech and he said, he said, don't be afraid.
Right. I'm kind of
I thought that was so deep, but I always been more of a apocalypse sinister villain, but his Magneto like really changed a lot. Even though I love Magneto in the comic book, the way he was showing as Magneto was deep, because I like how Magneto kept saying, my people who just want to be left alone, and it's just like I understood what Magneto was saying, and he's like, I just want to be at peace, but don't get it twisted. And he's not in the comic book in the beginning it was always Professor X against Magneto. Magneto is the brotherhood of evil mutants, but then as years progressed, they got really deep about how he really felt. So you didn't see him as a simpleton that's just going around trying to just cause problems with the X-Men. He had a purpose, and maybe not all. Maybe his missions are not as bad as everybody thinks. But and he showed how his will is so strong when them claws popped in.
Oh, you talking about Fatal Attractions, huh?
Yeah, when he told Wolverine enough, it's time to end this. I was like, I was watching, and I was like, please don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's in the comic book, of course, but I was like, please don't do it. But I was like, they're gonna do it, And I was like, I was just upset too. I was upset.
Hey, Wolverine's my favorite. I felt some type of way too. But speaking of that, I'm gonna have Josh pull it up because that's actually some of the things that I have here to show was from that episode, the last episode, right? They paid homage to Fatal Attractions, which I didn't see that coming anywhere, right? That for me was just like, no, he's not gonna do it, right? Just like Rashid said.
Can I say something, Miguel?
Yeah.
I just like how the show has been. Everything is not just about Wolverine. I've seen every character have their little moment.
I don't know if I like that, but go ahead.
Miguel might disagree with that perspective.
Wolverine is one of my favorite. Of course, one of my favorite characters. Period. But I'm just saying, I like how they got depth. Everybody, Jubilee, Storm, Jean Grey, Magneto. I just, it became more of a big. It resonates with the comic.
Yeah.
And Nightcrawler is finally on the team, baby.
I know. I do.
With the swords in the tail.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I do agree though. I do agree that they are giving each character like their own moment, right? Like they're showing whether it's their own power, whether it's their own spotlight or their own story. Like it started with Cyclops. I hated Cyclops. No offense. But they made him badass. The fact that he like saved himself and did the best superhero landing known to comic books now, forever be embedded, right? But this episode right here, look, he's on the throne, guys. So go back to that one that we just went. Matthew, for we're big in the collecting hobby, as you can see, all the statues and stuff. And there are plenty of statues out there that cost a lot of money that have Magneto on a sentinel hand or like a throne. And when they saw this, I went nuts. This part right here, when he slapped Professor X with the cover, it was like, I always wanted to say this. Shut up, Charles. I was like, oh shit. It's funny because on the old series, there's a YouTube clip somewhere out there. It's just Charles yelling like, "Oh, Charles!" So for Magneto this season to be like, "I always wanted to say this. Shut up, Charles." I went nuts. But this right here, when they talked about Wolverine and Magneto's feud, and then Wolverine stuck his claws in him, which we couldn't do back in the day in X-Men 92 because of the kids and whatever rights they had. The fact that they showed this. And they threw jabs at each other while this happened. And then Xavier saying, "Don't do it, Magnus. Don't do it, Magnus, for God's sake." And then all of a sudden, Magneto goes berserk, which showed his true power, just like Rashid said. This, for me, was like, what a way to end the freaking season 1, right? But Matthew, tell me about this part here when you saw it. I don't know if you saw a reaction. I don't know if you saw it live. I don't know if you saw it after. What did you think of it when it was done and how they put it together?
I mean, it was beautiful, and it was funny because when I got to it in the script, I just when we got to that bit in recording, I just went, man, there are going to be a lot of people mad at me. and the response was, yeah, if we do it right. But and that like this whole section in this episode is a really good example of reading it on the page and sort of understanding, okay, and then this happens, and then this is happening, meanwhile this is happening, and blah blah blah. Like you can follow it logically, but being able to create in your head these kind of visuals, that's a skill that takes a very specific natural creativity and ability, and a huge amount of time and education and practice and all that kind of thing to be able to do this. And so getting to see how well they did, and part of this is going back to Larry Houston, the director of the original show, will frequently say what he was aiming to do was to make a moving comic book with the original show back in the 90s. If you've had him on, he's probably said that. Like that was his sort of like, I think that was like one of his guiding principles.
Yeah.
And what was done in this show as well was to make sure that some of those things came through as well. Like you showed the episode, the match of, Uncanny X-Men 200 cover and episode 2, and then the match of this the screenshot
attractions,
of Wolverine, and then the shot of Wolverine from the comics, like how similar they are. Making sure that they got that in was really, really smart, because they made sure that everybody was a fan and everybody liked and appreciated comics. And so it wasn't a case of like, okay, well, let's take these characters and these stories and let's do something else. It's like, no, how can we make these things come to life? Because that was what Larry and the Lords had done originally. And that was what, this is not a reboot. This was not a reimagining. This was carrying on that show now with a little more money and a little more technical ability. So how can they continue to do that? And they did such an amazing job, and because they were allowed to push it a little more, and you could see the claws, and you could see the blood, and you could see the wounds in a way that you couldn't see before, and you could make death much more visceral and tangible in our version of the show than they could before, because it was a Saturday morning kids cartoon. Some of the things that they were able to put into it visually are just staggering. And it's I would always watch the show as quickly as I could when it came out, because the shows that I wasn't in, I hadn't read the scripts of, because there was no reason to send me a script for a show I wasn't in. So I didn't know what happened in some of the shows. So I needed to watch it as quickly as possible so I knew. But also, as I said, I wasn't always exactly sure where the show had ended up in terms of, like, once it had been edited down and put together, exactly how it played out. So I wanted to watch them as soon as I could, just so that I could find out, okay, after all of that, where did we end up? And it meant that, it was really, really fun to do that and get to see it. But the way I watched most of them was not by watching the episode. I would wait for a few hours and then go on YouTube and follow or watch people who did watches or did like
the reaction videos. I love those. Yeah,
I did those because that was so much more fun for me, because that would be like, okay, and there were going to be like a couple of places I'd be like, great, so these are people who know this stuff inside and out. What do they think? Like, how are they reacting to it? Is this stuff landing with them or not? And so that was a blast, because A, I got to see what the show ended up being, but B, I got to see fans' reactions to it in real time, which is something that I missed from theater days, but I kind of got a version of that in this.
Dude, I need to do that. I know I look like an idiot when I'm watching this, because I'm either like, I feel like I'm watching a UFC fight, because I'm not sitting down, I'm standing up, I'm pacing. I'll sit back down, I'll like go get something to drink, I'll have the munchies, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what? And I know I look like a complete idiot, so I got to do it at least for season 2. Aside from when I do it here and start, flipping out. Aaron, you had a question earlier. What's your question for Mr. Matthew?
Well, before I get to a question, I just want to say, Matthew, your performance as Magneto was something special, and I'm gonna be completely honest here. Probably one of the best voice acting performances I've ever seen.
Nice. That's
I'm
That's
not.
awesome. Thank you.
These guys know I wasn't a big X-Men fan like that. I've always liked Magneto, but I wasn't big on X-Men. But you put me on X-Men. This performance was crazy. The presence,
Thank you, man.
Magneto. Every time he steps in a room, he has that presence, and your voice. You killed it, bro. You killed it.
Aaron's our young boy, so I don't know if he grew up with X-Men92. So you introduced this to his life, and ever since he's been freaking out, and he's gotten like he's trying to build his own X-Men97 figure line, and he just got the Magneto today.
Nice.
But it's interesting to have his perspective on, because he's new into this. So I love that. But go ahead, Aaron.
Like I was saying, when Magneto walks into a room, you expect him to have that presence. When he starts talking, everybody shuts up and you listen to Magneto. He's like, him and Dr. Doom are probably my favorite villains. And
Dr. Doom, shout out too. That's my favorite.
Nice.
But my question was, what would be your favorite line this season?
It's tough. Like I get asked that a decent amount now, like at appearances. Because
wait, hold on. Let me do this just in case you get into character. Go ahead.
I get asked this at cons because like sometimes people will come up to have something signed and will have a quote that they want put on it, but a lot of the time they'll say, "Well, put on whatever your favorite one is," and it's tough because like the like I said, the thread at the end of the UN speech is awesome, but the line to Leech as well in German was one of the sort of the most moving things that I've done as a like a voice actor or as an actor, because it's so simple, but it was one where, and I've talked to people about this, where I had to do this weird thing of going like, okay, this is emotionally affecting me, but I actually have to control it because it's affecting me in a way that's going to make me not be able to do the line in a way that's going to work for the show.
Oh, wow.
For the character. So I have to sort of control it and adjust it, because my job is like, your job is not to feel the feelings. Your job is to give the performance that causes the effect in the audience. So like saying, well, I really felt that thing. Yeah, but nobody can understand what you said, and you kind of look like an angry raccoon. Help anyone. Like, great, that doesn't help anybody. So, you can, give yourself an award that you felt something, but it doesn't convey. Whereas what you're trying to do is do it in a way that is as moving and impactful for the people watching and listening as possible. So that was a weird experience where I actually had to sort of adjust around what I was doing, because that line in that context at that time, when he's sort of looking down at Leech and he's just stopped Rogue and Gambit from helping because he doesn't want them to get hurt, and he's like, no, you guys have to, this isn't going to work, you're not going to be able to stop it like this, you guys have to back off. And so he stopped them and strapped them to a pole with metal, and then he's holding on, and the kid is still looking at him, thinking, saying, like, looking at him, sort of pleading, going, you said it was going to be all right, is it going to be all right? And I don't think that the way it read to me was that he's not even aware that he switched back into German. It's just what he was told, and the difference is that when he was told that when he was 8, 10, 12 years old or whatever, he was told that, and he knows that he believed it until it was shown not to be true, but he knew he believed it when he was told it. And he's looking at Leech, knowing that if he can make Leech believe it for the next few seconds, then Leech isn't going to know what actually happens. It's just going to be done. And that was really hard to do. If you've got kids or something like that, it's not even like, it's not even like, oh, I'm going to try and imagine. You can't. It's just at this point, like the idea of any child sort of looking to you, pleading for that, just saying like, are we going to be okay? And you're like, yeah, it's going to be fine. But him like dropping back into German for Hab keine Angst was just, it's so like the threat of at the end of the UN speech is my favorite cold thread. That's awesome. But the one that was sort of the most moving was the line to Leech.
That's awesome. Hold on, I want to. Are you crying?
No.
You sure?
I even going through it again in my head, like I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I
am too. So
and that's the thing. Like, and the funny thing was, like, afterwards, like now when I think through it, I can't help but think of one of my kids or things like that. And the idea of like of one of your kids looking at you, being like, "Are we going to be okay?" And you going like, "Yeah, absolutely." As the fourth engine on the 747 blows up, and you're like, "No." But what are you gonna do? Say no? You're like 30 seconds, so we hit the ground, kid.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, dude. Dude, you are like awesome.
Yeah, I would say majority of people like episode 5 the most, but my favorite episode was your episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, that whole speech is great, and like I said, the way to end it of saying I'm doing everything I can. If you don't, now it's on you. It's a cold thread.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good.
Can we hear you say, "Don't you down"?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me put you. Wait. So, real quick before you do, what does he call? What does he call them when they're up in the? Anyway, go ahead. Do your thing.
what is it? The first ones. I think it's bigot, ingrate, worm, so small I could smite you with a step. I don't remember all the way in the middle. And then I'm trying to be better. Please, do not make me let you down.
Yes.
Damn.
Wow. Whoa, bro.
That is so
oh
fucking
God.
awesome.
Yo, I have goosebumps. Bro, I have goosebumps. Can this camera pick up my goosebumps? Oh, bro. Oh my God.
Another good line.
Bro, when you started saying bigot, I was like, oh shit.
Calm down.
I'd like to piggyback off that if possible.
Yes, go ahead.
So we talked a lot about dialogue. This is kind of going off of what Aaron was saying, but like we talked a lot about dialogue. Obviously, there's some amazing action sequences, but I'd argue that this show's strong point is the dialogue within it itself and the story that it's telling and the emotionality that is translated through this medium, which is something that I don't remember the last time I felt in such a strong way. Obviously, a lot of that can be, as you stated, that can be taken back to the writers and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it's up to the actors to convey the emotionality and to bring it to life and give it its life, if you will. One of my favorite lines, of course, is when you say that something to the effect of the leaders being terrorists. That was
there you go.
Yeah,
that was you had some of the best, not just one-liners, but obviously speeches. But even just your one-liners in this series were incredible. So even though my question was taken by Aaron, I wanted to I did want to mention that. So like you did such an incredible job with that, and everybody on this show has. We've been very fortunate, as Miguel has said, about having some of the cast on over the last few weeks. And like I said, just what you all have brought to these characters and like bringing them either back to life, or for some of y'all, I know it's like for the first time. It's just been an incredible experience to have. I don't think I've ever been this excited week to week to watch something. Don't get me wrong, I get frustrated sometimes waiting an entire week for an episode, but at the same time, it brings me back every single time, and I can't wait for season 2.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I have an interesting question that I just thought about. So I don't know if y'all have been tuning all the report stuff lately, but this show has done so well, and you guys have done such an amazing job. But I'm reading it's completely made Marvel rethink the way they're doing their movies. Like you guys had such a big impact on that. How does that
and
feel?
It should.
You guys were able to make they had a vision they're going for, and they're like X-Men97 came out and it completely changed everything, and that was because of you guys. So how does that feel?
Absolutely.
Like you're responsible for that?
That I hadn't heard that, but that's both awesome and terrifying. What I don't want is in 3 years' time to get a phone call of like, yeah, Kevin Feige is mad at you guys.
By the way, Kevin Feige said that he wants you to pay a real life Magneto. Would you do it?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Bro.
He looks like a good Magneto.
He does.
Here's what I will say. Here's what I will say is that the person who plays Magneto next should be Jewish. I'm not Jewish.
Okay.
It should be somebody who is Jewish. Like I don't think because Ian McKellen's not Jewish, Fassbender's not Jewish. I think at some point the person playing sort of the most famous Holocaust survivor in all of comics and superheroes, they probably should get a person who is Jewish to play him.
I agree. But that goes down to this question here. It says, if you could be any X-Men character, who would you be then?
Yeah, well, here's the clarification: in real life or to play in a film.
Oh, give us both. Give us both.
So at the moment, I have 3 small children. So there's a character who was in episode 5 very briefly, Multiple Man. Who can kind of just that'd be great. It's like one of me for each of the kids, one of me for work, one of me to do errands. That'd be right now in my actual life. That would be the
nice.
Yes. But in terms of if it was going to be for like like the gig I've got, but if someone were to say, hey, we're going to do put you in a live action movie, like I said, I think that, look, I'm not going to turn down Magneto. If somebody calls me and says, look, we're going to do this version of it and put you in a white wig and a purple suit and in a live action. Okay, where do I get the testosterone and steroids? I don't look like that 60-year-old man. But in a film thing, in a film one, like I like Sebastian Shaw.
Oh,
yeah.
Fire Club represent.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be fun to play. And like he was in the show a little bit, but I'm like, I don't know why. There's just something about that character I just always found.
They had him dancing though, man. They had him dancing.
It was
Come
his
on.
party.
I know why he wants to play him though, because you get close to Emma Frost.
Backing off of what you had previously talked about, and I'm gonna try to not get emotional about it because I get really emotional about the Holocaust. I actually was fortunate enough in school to have a teacher who took it really personally, and she was actually like the third most knowledgeable person on the Holocaust. And so her thing, like her mission was to educate all her kids about the Holocaust. So she dedicated an entire half of the school year to teaching us about it. We actually got to meet a Holocaust survivor. I got to see and feel the tattoo on their arm. I'm sorry, I'm being really emotional about it.
It's okay.
So this
totally
is
fine.
A big responsibility, and I love that you mentioned that the next person should be Jewish, because we've been talking a lot in this show about representation, and I believe the line you were trying to think of is, he says, I think it was recognition is the word he used.
Right.
When Professor X is talking to Magneto in the last episode. And so I think that's great that you support that. But, you talked about, all the men that have come before you that have played this role, like Ian and Michael and David, the original voice actor. I'm sure you feel a huge responsibility with taking on this role and like trying to not only fill those shoes, but just the story behind it and with Eric's character and everything like that, and how, like you said, the biggest Holocaust survivor in comics history. And like, how was that for you, trying to, take that role on and everything like that, and the responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, it's something that if you're taking anything where you are playing somebody who has been present at any like massive tragic world event, anything like that, like, you've got to be very sensitive and cognizant to what it is you're stepping into. And one of the things that is really nice is that, because, as we've talked about a bit, this particular IP, this particular world is about people who have been persecuted purely for the way they were born, for who they were as they were born. Everybody approaching it and everybody coming into work on it was coming into work on it from the point of view of, what we're doing is creating this superhero show, but that is about people who, despite whatever abilities they may have, whether they are ones that give them a huge amount of power, like Charles or Eric, or someone like Leech, who his powers don't amount to a huge amount except to other mutants, and if he's around a whole bunch of humans, he's not going to take mutant powers away from humans, is my understanding. I could be wrong, but like, some of the mutants' powers aren't that cool and don't do much, which is kind of one of the things that's great about the world, is that not everybody has these massive world-changing powers. Some are just different. And so when you're stepping into a character like this, who is one of the most powerful, and it was always very clear to me that one of the reasons he was one of the most powerful, as Chris Claremont built out the character from its initial inception, was one of the most powerful, was because what he had gone through meant that there had to be some sort of equivalency, like having somebody who had gone through that as a child, who then had a power that was not that powerful and didn't require that much control, wasn't that interesting a character. It had to be somebody who has the power to end the world effectively, who just was a year or two away from being strong enough to stop everything from happening when it happened. And so there has to be, like, one of the reasons why Eric is the way he is in comparison to Charles is that he knows that he watched what happens when you wait. He watched what happens when you say, well, maybe it's going to work out okay. I've got to give everyone a chance. The thing with Charles is that Charles can read everybody's mind. So Charles can look at even somebody being horrendous and say, but I can see there's good in there. And that's what I want to try and get to. And Eric goes, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You're killing me. Okay.
I don't care. Maybe there's good in there, but
hold her, Andrew.
Hold her, Andrew. Hold her hand.
When we went to see and actually went to the Holocaust Survivor Museum, it was a lot. But it was really just, I don't even have words, but I just felt honored to be able to be there and feel everything. And so it's just, Eric's story just really resonates with me a lot, just on a human level, as far as like me being able to be empathetic to his story and what he went through, and then seeing, unfortunately, those things be repeated in nowadays, especially with the LGBT community. It just really, really hits home. But thank you so much, because you have done the character so much justice, and the fact that you've taken such care with it and the character and everything, and tried to be as authentic to the character as you possibly can. It just means so much, and it's just been such an honor to watch you perform.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashlyn. I appreciate that. I really do.
Piggybacking off of that, it's so hard to segue from that, because like I just text Josh. I was like, how the hell am I going to segue out of this? But I got it. I'm a professional here. So with that being said, Matthew, what would you want viewers to take away from this show?
One of the reasons why I love that speech at the UN so much is because there's a couple of times in this first season where a couple of characters sort of lay out the purpose of the show, the theme of the show, effectively. And Eric does it really well in there, which is this idea that this is one world and all of us are different, and there is no way to make this work if we try and make everybody the same. It just ends in death. It just ends in death. I've seen it a time and time again. The only way this is going to work is if everybody just chills out and accepts that everyone's going to be a little bit different or a lot bit different, and is okay with that. And it's that weird thing of there are people who, and I understand there are people who have no time for sci-fi, for horror, for superheroes, for things like that. Like, well, it's unrealistic. I was like, yeah, but the whole point of something like Star Trek was, okay, well, we can approach topics that make people feel targeted if you talk about them in our real world, but we can apply it to this sort of non-existent world where we make it allegorical and we make it parallel to this, but nobody feels targeted. And sometimes it's easier for people to go, oh, I kind of behave like that, or I kind of think like that. Maybe, yeah. Like when I see it second, and when I see it as a third party, it doesn't look so good. Okay, maybe I should reconsider. Because look, all of us are protective. If somebody says, "Hey, you're being a terrible person," we all go, "No, we're not. I'm fine. It wasn't my fault. It was this. It was that. It was the other." So we have a show where people can watch it, and hopefully no one is sitting there watching it going, well, I'm a mutant and I feel targeted for this, or I'm a human who hates mutants, and so I feel like this show is being unfair to me. Everybody can watch it and go, yeah, this is this massive variety in what the mutant population is in this world. They're not all the same. It's not that everybody has the same powers, has the same look. They're completely different, all of them. So there is no two the same. There's no two people the same. There's no two mutants the same. The difference between this human and that mutant is probably a lot smaller than between this human and that human. So the getting to actually, in a way, be the first character in the show to lay out the theme of the show in that second episode was really cool. It was a really cool part of the job that I had. And that's you know, that's the thing that I think was all of our intent, is to get across this thing of like, just let people be who they're going to be, and everyone's going to be happier.
That's awesome, dude. That's really awesome.
Awesome.
We're about like 5 minutes over, but I gotta say this, because this, I thought, like, dude, you've been phenomenal this entire show, and I'm just gonna add more credibility to you, because
thank you, man.
I've seen the other day something that really touched my heart, and as a father, I know that, and obviously this industry is hard, right? Because there's a lot of time you spend away from your family. Your wife is awesome too. You know, she does voiceovers too, so she gets it. But you, like you said, you have 3 beautiful kids, and I saw a video that she put up of I don't know what it was. I think it was a voice box or something of you reading a book to one of your kids. So he recorded a voiceover as he's reading a book to one of the kids to sleep, and she posted that, and I was like, this dude is a good dude, man. This was awesome. But like, really shout out to you for your career, being a phenomenal father, a family man, just everything. And what do you think this is going to mean for your kids when they get older? Do you think that they're going to take you to show and tell? Do you think like, what do you like? I'm sure, I don't know if they understand now, or maybe they're just used to, like, you know,
they're starting
to it, but like, what do you think in the future they're going to be like, yo, my dad was Magneto?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, they're starting to, the oldest, like they're because they're 2, 4, and 6 now, so they're kind of starting to. And actually, it was funny this morning when we got to school, my 6-year-old's teacher, who is also one of the heads of school and has a couple of family members who have kids in the school too. As Rachel and I were walking our 4-year-old over to her class, she stopped us and she said, "Have you guys seen so and so yet today?" And we went, "No way." She goes, "So he's her nephew." And she goes, "So I remember they called her, stopped her the other day, and he said, "So my dad and I are watching this show, and we just watched this making of thing at the end of it. And do you know who so and so's dad is?" And she went, "Yes." He goes, "He's here." And she went, "So you may have to. You may find that you are becoming more popular with some of the older kids in the near future." I was like, "That's fine with me. That's very cool." But yeah, I guess there were a couple of things where a couple of the older kids sort of went to my oldest one and were like, "Does your dad do such and such?" And she went, "Yeah."
It's just his job.
Yeah, he's Magneto.
It's cool. It's cool. It's kind of fun. I think originally, like, because it's more of a kids show, like they were watching the Croods show that was like a TV show based on the movies for DreamWorks. It was on Hulu, but it's kind of a kids sitcom thing. So they were watching it. They're like, "Is your dad the one on that?" And she went, "Yeah."
Like nothing, right?
My mom is Wonder Woman. What's the big deal?
Yeah, right. Like that's the other. Like, my dad is Magneto. My mom's Wonder Woman. Guys, like, come on. That's freaking awesome. Well, so listen,
go either way.
they better not mess with them. I'll tell you that. But listen, man, dude, it's honestly, it's been an honor and a privilege to have you on, man. Thank you for joining the list of cast members that braced us on the show. Dude, you've been phenomenal. So like, you were laying down bars today, man. Like I'm glad I'm not like fully here, because I'm like this, like if I'm blind, just trying to pay attention to what you're saying. But dude, you've been great. Again, congratulations. Obviously, I think we're up to season 3 now, hoping that they do like 10 season, man. And
that's what we hope. But it'd be great.
I hope, man. It's everything that every person has dreamed of and more. And you know, just again, dude, you absolutely killed the role, dude. This is like phenomenal for sure.
Absolutely.
But thank you for being on, brother. Is there any cons that you're going to be doing in the very near future? Because there's a lot of viewers, obviously, like I said before, that watch the show from all over, and they're probably going to go see it.
In like a week, I guess, in about a week, I'm going to be in Nashville with Ross Marcon, who's Xavier.
Nice.
And then
Jaws.
In the middle of June, I'm going to be at one in New Zealand, which is crazy.
Ooh,
yeah,
very nice. Ooh.
Like, All right, we'll just take the whole family to New Zealand for a trip.
Yeah.
There you go.
Take a hobbit
We're gonna
holes.
put, 2
Lord of the
46-year-old
Rings
on a
tour.
13-hour transoceanic flight and see how that ends. And then in July, animate Columbus, Ohio. And then Fairfax, Virginia in August. We're sort of trying to keep it to like one a month.
We'll see you there.
Yeah.
Nice.
We will see you there.
There you go.
And all of these, I'm not at anything alone because I'm a scared little mouse. So at all of these will be like some of the other cast as well. I don't know who is at which, but there'll be some other cast members. Like I said, I know that Ross will be at Nashville. Columbus will be Ray Chase and AJ Lacazio, I believe. So that's Cyclops and Gambit. I don't know who else is where else.
Yeah, I know for the one where you guys are at, I know Storm's gonna be there. Guy is tentative because I just spoke to him yesterday about that one.
Nice.
George is gonna be there, I believe, and
Right, that's
AJ.
Ocala in September, I think.
Yeah, Ocala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You'll probably see.
but
us
yeah,
there.
man.
Nice.
But hopefully, my goal is to meet everybody, obviously. And I hope I get to see you guys at a con and introduce and thank you in person. And dude, you've been phenomenal. Brother cousin, you have one more question, right? You said
one more question.
Yeah, shoot, bro. Go ahead.
Matthew, what did you just wanted to know? Get your opinion on just wanted to get your opinion on the romantic,
Oh, the
episode
truck,
with Rogue and everything. Yeah, the
Miguel's shirt.
What was your thought about?
You talk about this right here? You talk about this? Listen, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because I have some pictures. So while you explain, I'll go ahead and shoot some over so we can see.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it was funny. That was another one where I knew as soon as I found out it was happening. Talking to Bo and Jake and stuff, going like, this is gonna piss some people off, and they went, yeah. But also like. For all of the and this is the thing that I like, for all of the reasons that Rogue lays out in episode 5 when she and Gambit have the conversation, when she and Remy talk about it, she's like, there are certain realities to our existence that kind of make a relationship rough. Ooh. Yeah, I do remember when they first showed me the dance sequence, and I have to say I think it was tamed down a bit from a version that they had.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there was a version where I think it was tamed down. I think that there was just a lot more flying around and moving in the air, and utilizing the fact they could fly
and could touch.
Yeah, but it's got to be really, really hard to not be able to touch another person on the planet, and then to find that there is somebody who I can touch who actually does like and respect me and sees me for who I am. That's a pretty strong thing. It's tough because I think that in your heart of hearts, you kind of know that Rogue and Remy are the ones who are supposed to be together. They're as closely matched as Charles and Erica. For whatever else, there's nobody who understands Charles as well as Eric does, and vice versa. And there's nobody who understands Remy as well as Rogue does, and vice versa. And so anything else that happens around that is just kind of Melrose Place. So
so did you have fun at the cons when it was all three of you next to each other?
Yeah, because like I said, I've known AJ for a long time, and he and I are very comfortable, busting each other's balls. And Lenore is a sweetheart and is so good at fan interaction, and is so quick on her feet and all that kind of stuff. And she knows that character at this point. She knows that character so well. She knows that character inside and out. So there's, anytime that the three of us get to be on a panel or something together, we get to kind of play with that stuff, and it's fun. Yeah,
it sounds fun, and it's funny because when I was watching the show, I was like, man, they're making Gambit look like a little punk, man. And then all of a sudden he comes back with one of the best, episodes of the entire season, and the most
heartbreaking parts.
The most heartbreaking, right? He got redeemed, but man, that whole trio of relationship they had going on, I think they did it fantastic. I think people understood everybody's point of view, and I think everybody was mad and then turned around and wasn't mad anymore. And it gave everybody a roller coaster of emotions. So they really accomplished what they wanted to do. And again, another job well done by all three of you. Lenore's she's been on the show in the past. I haven't been able to get her this time around, but I love Lenore. She's such a freaking sweetheart.
Lovely.
She's awesome.
That's
She's still got it. She's still got it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Matthew, I don't know if you've seen or not, but it's been blowing up on the internet about the fact that, like you said, Eric and Charles, no one knows them each other as well as you. But there's like a big meme going around saying that like they're the couple that broke up and now it's the world's problem.
Yeah. It's doing well because everybody looks at it and goes, well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's not. It like if everyone left the mutants alone, it wouldn't be an issue. But also, yeah, the like if either one of them wasn't around, or if they were on the same page, like if they were both on the same page, whatever they chose would be how it would go. It would either be Charles's method or Eric's method. The fact that they're both there has meant that it has continued to be a struggle between mutants and humans. Because if Eric was gone, then it would just be Charles, and if Charles was gone, Eric would just be like, "All right, we're all doing this now. Humans, get out of here," kind of thing. Like, So yeah, there is some truth to that.
Dude. Just amazing. Everything's been amazing, but I don't want to keep taking more of your time. Oh, look, Calvin's like, Lenore called me sugar and made me melt. So we kind of enable each other, and he was there and I was on the phone, and I'm like, yo, show me what they got on the table. So he shows me this picture of Gambit and Rogue kind of embraced, and I'm like, yo, that is dope, bro. And he goes, bro, I don't got no more room. I was like, bro, you're never gonna they're both there. You can get it signed. I was like, she's gonna call you sugar. He's like, I'm gonna do it. And the minute he went and signed it, sugar, and he was like, and when he got done, he looked at me. He was like, bro, she called me sugar. It was so funny, man. But listen, I don't want to take up more of your time, but I want to thank you again. I'm just gonna go around the horn real quick. I'm gonna start with Sam real quick. Sam, what you got going on? Thank you for being on, first off. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope this is not the last time you're on. And I sent the picture to Josh to pull up because I know you got an upcoming show, but
I do. First of all, Matthew, I'm not done with you. I'm gonna play Hades too. I think you're Hercules in that, or
he's like, yeah.
So like, I've been dabbling in that, but yeah, no, constructive outrage. Me and Darth Rashid, along with Shane the Dark Lord, but we got a big show. This is our first COC Fest. This is where our show meet up with other people from the collector world, and we just try to have conversations and mix it up and change up the energy and just have some fun. We got some games planned. So this is for the 29th, Wednesday, 9 p.m. EST. See everybody on that thumbnail. We got me, Adam, AK, K-Fet, Shane, Cash the Gemini, Darth Rashid, Critical Mass, Art the Statue Collector, and Mother Freaking Door from DCX will be joining us on Wednesday. It's going to be a big deluxe show. It's going to be fun. Thank you for having me, Miguel, and talk to you next time.
Hey,
and we will have a giveaway, another giveaway from Collector Zone.
Well, hold on. Before we get to the giveaway, I gotta question some of these pictures because why does Thor look like a cross between freaking
Don't hate.
Yo, stop it, bro. He looks like Mace and Chris Tucker had a baby.
Hey,
like, what is that? What is that?
That is the Godfather right there.
Anyway, well,
I was like, you seen Adam? Adam was a
one is going to be called Drake for sure. I'm not going to name any names, but I appreciate you. Rashid, thank you for coming on the show. You as well. What you got going on?
Oh, nothing. Same COC, Fatal, Collector, and just trying to keep the hobby positive. That's it. And just getting more X-Men statues, and I think I showed you. I put up just got a life-size bust, but that's about it.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, thank you for being on. Josh, what you got going on, brother?
Not much, just hanging out with you, but I just wanted to say thank you again, Matthew, for coming on. This has been probably the best way to end our whole X-Men 97 run here on Toy Quest.
Oh wait, we're not ending it. We got Nightcrawler and Jubilee coming June 7th.
okay.
I added another show. Sorry. It's been so good. I had to do it.
Well, regardless, this has been a blast, man, and you've honestly easily been my favorite. And all I gotta say is I can't wait to meet you on Ocala. And Magneto was right.
Magneto was right.
There you go. Nice. Sean, thank you so much for coming on. Sean, I think we got to do a Magneto piece next, brother.
I know I've said this about a lot of characters and a lot of different franchises, but yes, working on it. I have a piece in mind that I'm working on. Getting through a lot of X-Men as of late. But yeah, of course, Matthew, thank you not just for being on the show, but I know it's been said already, but incredible performance, incredible season. As I believe I said to Ms. Sealy Smith when she was on, you guys not just reached the bar, but exceeded it. It's been incredible. So thank you so much.
Sir.
Thank you, mate.
Brother, cousin, thank you, brother, for being on. Appreciate you. What you got going on?
Man, thank you so much for having me. This has been a treat. And Matthew, thank you so much for spending time with us. This is amazing. Your work is amazing. I mean, you've been in projects. I didn't even know that was you. I'm like, oh my God, he was in that. He was in this. He was in that. He was in that. Dude, excellent work. Just, oh my God. I'm actually going to go back and watch. We're doing a whole rewatch of X-Men97 tonight.
Nice.
So that's going to be great. So this is great. But yeah, I got some Hot Toys, toy reviews coming up pretty soon for some new stuff that was released this week, so look out on the channel for that, Brother Cousins Toy Reviews. We do lives every Thursday, best of the best and all that good stuff. Once again, Miguel, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, bro.
Excellent tonight.
Anytime. Thank you, bro. Aaron, the young buck, the Magneto fan, what you got going on, brother?
Well, before we get to me, it was an honor meeting you, Matthew. Thank you for putting me on the X-Men. It was good. What I got coming? Say What Wednesday with Leo and rotation. Whenever somebody sends me a link, I'm on it.
Nice. Thank you for being on, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, bro. Andrew and the birthday girl. Thank you guys for being on.
Birthday.
Yeah, it's her birthday. There you go. You got say it again, Matthew.
Happy birthday.
Hey, you can clip that. There you go. But we got to get that signed, man. Show off that real quick so he could see it. He got everybody on here, bro. Just
nice.
Everybody.
Oh wow.
That's a huge cassette.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
I want to see the VCR that goes in.
Yeah, right.
Look at canvas.
Said the exact same thing at MegaCon. Pretty funny. But yeah, we'll definitely be seeing you in Ocala. We got to add you to the roster here. We got Ross not that long ago,
and he was awesome.
and he was great. He was freaking out when he saw the thing. But yeah, we're super excited to hopefully meet you in person in a couple of months. But you can check out our channel at Retroactive POD. We actually did reviews as the season went for all the X-Men episodes. My wife, myself, and Josh joined with our buddy Brandon. We try and do it every couple weeks. We talk about movies, TV, all that kind of stuff. For the birthday girl, I'm going to ask that everybody go check out her page at BookBrat90 on Instagram and TikTok. She does a lot of if you're into, we do some collectible stuff on there, but if you're into books, and she built an entire library and stuff like that, Gothic style,
nice.
Any of that kind of stuff. Nice. Please check out her page. Give her a follow for her birthday and all that good stuff. But thank you, Miguel, so much for having us on, and thank you, Matt, for talking with us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you for making me cry. It was all the best.
That may get clipped. You never know. I appreciate you guys, and of course, second brother, last but not least, thank you for being on. I definitely was happy to have you on because I know this struck nostalgia for you in your childhood. So thank you for being on.
Man, Matthew, thank you so much for, as they said, dream realized. Reading the comics as a child, having Magneto is like as a foster dad to try to get me through tough times, to stick it out, and to start reading the comics at the age of 7, all the way to I'm about to turn 53 in a couple of weeks. For this to come full circle, to see the animation, to see the passion that you put into the character and made that character yours. and it just like thank Miguel. Like I'm told, totally speechless. Where I'm actually living this thing coming to full circle, and I have my 14-year-old upstairs. I'm trying to tell him, man, these times, take advantage of all of them. Take advantage of all of them. You get to enjoy all these things that I know for myself we wish we had growing up, and now we have them now, and we get to enjoy this with our children now. So, really appreciate your work. And you said you're being Fairfax. That's our neck of the woods. Me and brother cousins neck of the woods. So we definitely look forward to meeting you. And thank you.
That'd be great. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, guys, that wraps up our show. We definitely went over. I want to get him back to his family. And dude, thank you so much once again. Keep up the good work. If you ever need anything, you know where to find me. I'll definitely eventually find you somewhere and come surprise you just like I have with everybody else. But thank you again, guys. If you're watching the replay, hit the thumbs up, leave us a comment. Thank you for everybody who joined us live. And we'll see you guys on another episode of Collectors Assemble Live next week. I might have another guest, but June 7th, like I said, we're going to have Nightcrawler on, Adrian, and we're going to have Jubilee. And that'll probably be our last one. Who knows? Maybe I'll have another trick up my sleeve. But we've had a ton of them on, and I'm super grateful for everybody. Disney, Marvel, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys on another episode of Collectors Assemble Live. See you guys.